We're going to start in verse 5 and read all the way down to verse 73. Then my God put into my heart to assemble the nobles and the officials and the people to be enrolled by genealogy. And I found the book of genealogy, of the genealogy of those who came up at the first, and I found written in it, these were the people of the province who came up out of the captivity of those exiles whom Nebuchadnezzar, the king of Babylon, had carried into exile. They returned to Jerusalem and Judah, each to his town. They came with Zerubbabel, Jeshua, Nehemiah, Azariah, Raamiah, Nahamani, Mordecai, Bilshan, Mizpereth, Bigvai, Nehum, and Baana. The number of the men of the people of Israel, the sons of Parosh, 2,172. The sons of Shephatiah, 372. The sons of Ada, 652. The sons of Pahath Moab, namely the sons of Jeshua and Joab, 2,818. The sons of Elam, 1,254. The sons of Zatu, 845. The sons of Zakai, 760. The sons of Benui, 648. The sons of Bebai, 628. The sons of Asgad, 2,322. The sons of Adonikam, 667. The sons of Bigvai, 2,067. The sons of Arden, 655. The sons of Ater, namely of Hezekiah, 98. The sons of Hasham, 328. The sons of Bezai, 324. The sons of Hariph, 112. The sons of Gibeon, 95. The men of Bethlehem and Netupha, 188. The men of Anathoth, 128. The men of Bethaz Maveth, 42. The men of Kiriath Jearim, Kephirah, and Beeroth, 743. The men of Ramah and Geba, 621. The men of Michmas, 122. The men of Bethel and Ai, 123. The men of Nebo, 52. The sons of the other Elam, 1,254. The sons of Hadim, 320. The sons of Jericho, 345. The sons of Lod, Hadid, and Ono, 721. The sons of Senaa, 3,930. The priests, the sons of Jediah, namely the sons of Jeshua, 973. The sons of Immer, 1,052. The sons of Pashur, 1,247. The sons of Hadim, 1,017. The Levites, the sons of Jeshua, namely Kadmiel, the sons of Hodavan, 74. The singers, the sons of Asaph, 148. The gatekeepers, the sons of Shalom, the sons of Ater, the sons of Talmon, the sons of Akab, the sons of Hatita, the sons of Shobai, 138. The temple servants, the sons of Ziha, the sons of Hasufa, the sons of Tabaath, the sons of Keros, the sons of Sia, the sons of Padon, the sons of Lebana, the sons of Hagabah, the sons of Shalmai, the sons of Hanan, the sons of Gedel, the sons of Gaha, the sons of Reaiah, the sons of Rezin, the sons of Nekoda, the sons of Gazam, the sons of Azza, the sons of Pasia, the sons of Besai, the sons of Meunim, the sons of Nephushiim, the sons of Bakbak, the sons of Hakufa, the sons of Hahur, the sons of Bazlith, the sons of Mehida, the sons of Harsha, the sons of Barkos, the sons of Sisera, the sons of Tema, the sons of Neziah, the sons of Hatifa, the sons of Hatifa. The sons of Solomon's servants, the son of Sotai, the sons of Sophereth, the sons of Perida, the the sons of Ja'ala, the sons of Darkon, the sons of Gidel, the sons of Shephatiah, the sons of Hatil, the sons of Pohereth, Zaibaim, the sons of Ammon. All the temple servants and the sons of Solomon's servants were 392. The following were those who came up from Tel Melah, Tel Harsha, Herab, Ardon, and Immer. But they could not prove their fathers' houses, nor their descent, whether they belonged to Israel. The sons of Delaiah, the sons of Tobiah, the sons of Nekoda, 642. Also of the priests, the sons of Hobiah, the sons of Hakkoz, the sons of Barzillai, who had taken a wife of the daughters of Barzillai, the Gileadite, and was called by their name. These sought their registration among those enrolled in the genealogies, but it was not found there, so they were excluded from the priesthood as unclean. The governor told them that they were not to partake of the most holy food until a priest with the Urim and Thummim should arise. The whole assembly together was 42,360. Besides their male and female servants, of whom there were 7,337, and they had 245 singers, male and female. Their horses were 736, their mules 245, their camels 435, and their donkeys 6,720. Now some of the heads of the fathers' houses gave to the work. The governor gave to the treasury 1,000 darics of gold, 50 basins, 30 priests' garments, and 500 minas of silver. And some of the heads of the fathers' houses gave into the treasury of the work 20,000 darics of gold and 2,200 minas of silver. And what the rest of the people gave was 20,000 darics of gold, 2,000 minas of silver, and 67 priests' garments. So the priests, the Levites, the gatekeepers, the singers, some of the people, the temple servants, and all Israel lived in their towns. And when the 7th month had come, the people of Israel were in their towns. Lovely, isn't it, to hear God's word? In 1806, the Bishop of Lincoln received a petition, a letter. It came from a local congregation who had built for themselves a little chapel to meet in and worship in. And they were seeking to have their church officially recognised by the government. The issue with this church and this congregation was that they were non-conformists, which means they were not part of the Anglican Church, they were not part of the Church of England, the officially recognised church in England at the time. They called themselves Particular Baptists. They had been meeting in secret for probably over 100 years, but now they wanted to be recognised. And it was legal at that point. It had been illegal, which is why they were meeting in secret, but it was now legal to be a non-Anglican in England, but it was frowned upon, and there were sort of extra hoops you had to jump through legally. In fact, this particular congregation had had one of its members in prison just a generation earlier, and this man had died as a result of his imprisonment. So it was a risk, and it was an unpopular thing to go public with your Baptist congregation. Nonetheless, the letter was sent to the bishop, and among the people who signed it as the leaders of this nonconformist church was one 20-year-old man by the name of Samuel Cutforth. From what I can tell, he's not my brother, he's my great-great-grandfather. There might be another great there, the family tree's got gaps, I'm not sure. But it's either my great-great-grandfather or great-great-great-grandfather. I couldn't find out what actually became of the petition, but I do know that this congregation of Baptists met in a little church called Monksthorpe, which is 5 miles out of town, because the law was you couldn't have a church in town. You had to be 5 miles away if you were nonconformists. And in that church, in the graveyard, you can find this gravestone, which you won't be able to read. Maybe you can read it there, but it is the gravestone of Samuel Cutforth. Maybe some of you have heard of that chapel or my family history before. My parents have gone over there to visit and to see our ancestors and their gravestones. But as a child of men like Samuel Cutforth, there's a weightiness to the legacy which they have left, the things which they did, the bravery which they showed in pursuit of their faith. I stand at the end of a long line of people who have had strong convictions and have stood for their convictions, a line that goes back even further from Samuel, a line of nonconformists, of Baptists who have loved God's word and tried to proclaim it. And I don't think it's too hard to trace a pretty direct link between the convictions that Samuel Cutforth held and stood for and risked for, and the person that I am today. My question for you is, whose legacy do you carry? What's been passed down to you from those who went before? And what will you leave for those who come after? We've been working through the book of Nehemiah. And if you only remember one thing from the series, all this work that we've done in the book, please remember that Nehemiah is not about building the wall. Chapter 7 is a wonderful example of that, isn't it? In chapter 6, what we looked at last week, we saw the wall was finished. They did it. They built it. And 2 men were appointed to be guards and to oversee it like it's done. The sort of defensive capabilities of the city, they're up and running. But the book's not finished. The project's not finished. Nehemiah's not finished. He's got more to do. Interestingly, there's not a lot of fanfare. There will be sort of gatherings and commemorations coming in the chapters to come, but not yet. Rather than celebrating, Nehemiah moves on to the next stage of what he's there to do, the next part of his mission that he's come back to achieve. So what's next on the to-do list? Well, chapter 7 begins phase 2. So verse 5, the first verse that we read, then my God put it into my heart to assemble the nobles and the officials and the people to be enrolled by genealogy. I think maybe you're more clever than I'm giving you credit for. I suspect, though, that for many of us, the purpose of this chapter is not immediately clear. And as I've said it before, and I think it's true, that as soon as we read like more than one difficult name to pronounce or more than one difficult place name, our brains sort of give up immediately and say, this is too hard, I'll move on to the next chapter. But I think this chapter is important, and it's actually doing something that we might do. He's looking back and remembering who they were and where they've come from as they move forward. Looking back and remembering their heritage. Looking at the legacy that's been left for them by their past ancestors. Looking back and remembering where they've come from as they move forwards. But I think it won't be obvious immediately, but we'll work our way through it, we'll explain it. But I think if we understand what this is and why this is, what this is and why it's here, we will be helped as we move forward. What on earth is this? Why on earth is it here? And how can it help us move forward as God's people? First, what on earth is there? Well, what on earth is this, Well, Nehemiah is here. He's trying to register all the Israelites who have returned to Judah. We're going to see later in chapter 11, so a few weeks from now, that this is in preparation for repopulating the city. It doesn't matter how many walls you build and how good they are and how tall they are. If you don't have people, you don't have a city, you just have a wall. And he wants to rebuild the holy city. But it seems that most of the people who have returned from exile didn't return to Jerusalem, the city. They returned and settled in towns and fields and farms and reclaimed their ancestral land, which was not necessarily in the city of Jerusalem. And they would have had to sort of support themselves and that sort of thing. So we know from chapter 11 and the start of chapter 7, which we read last week, that the city of Jerusalem is pretty empty. There's not many people living there. It's mainly just sort of the rich and the nobility. And so Nehemiah is starting the process of repopulating the holy city. And in chapter 11, what he's going to do is he's going to have a lottery, and 1 in every 10 families will have to move back or move into Jerusalem. But before he sort of runs the lottery and forces people to move, he's got to figure out who is eligible for living in the city. Who will repopulate the holy city? It can't just be anyone. The holy city needs the holy people. And so Nehemiah needs to find the holy people. And so he needs the genealogical records, the people who are the people of Israel. It can't just be anyone living in the region or anyone living in the city. It has to be God's people. So, at the beginning of the passage, we read Nehemiah doing some research. He found the book of the genealogy for those who came up at first, and then he goes on to recount it. And the rest of the chapter is basically copied and pasted from Ezra chapter 2. So it was a really easy sermon for me to write because we preached from Ezra chapter 2 like a few years ago. So I just copied and pasted it into here, and then we're good to go because that's what Nehemiah... No, I haven't done that, but it's really close, not exact. It's really close, not exact. There are some slightly different names, slightly different numbers. There's a few differences. Some people find that quite alarming, that, you've got these two lists that appear to be listing the same thing, but there's slight differences between one and the other. I don't think it's that much of a problem. I suspect one list is from when they left Babylon to come, and the other list is from when they arrived. The people will have changed. Some people have chickened out. Some people have been bored. Some people would have passed away. It was a long journey, so it's not surprising that the list is slightly different. Samuel's son was called Richard Cutforth. He is the Cutforth that moved to New Zealand, and he's responsible for all us Cutforths being here. He left on a ship called the Hanover, and on that voyage, one person died and one person was born. So if you looked at the lists of who was on that ship, whether you looked at it in England or looked at it in New Zealand, it would be different because the people changed. I suspect that's what's happening in Nehemiah chapter 7. One list is from the start, one list is from the end, and the people in that 4-month journey changed slightly. Looking at the record, or what's actually being recorded here, is the first wave. So not everybody, the first wave, that will be relevant later. But what is significant about the people on this list? Well, I think there are 3 things that we really ought to notice. One is that it's detailed. People are grouped by their lineage or their location, the sons of such and such, or the men of such and such. But what I find striking is that in this group of 42,000, like a lot of people, they bother to record even the smallest family. There's a family with only 42 members who are recorded and recognised and remembered. That means that every family, everybody who came back, however big or small your family was, every contribution, every sacrifice was remembered and recorded. It's an effort to make sure no one's overlooked, no one's forgotten. They're all important. Second, this is a detailed list of everybody. Second, it's also a record of means and resources. At the end, there's a list of animals that came, but not just sort of any animals. I think it's load-bearing animals, so horses, donkeys, animals that can do work, not like cows and sheep and goats who you eat. And I assume that they're recording these animals, these particular animals, because they're the ones who are going to help with the rebuilding. They're going to be able to carry loads and stuff like that. They also record the gold and silver that was given. And again, I think that's about recognizing the means and the resources and the sacrifices people made. But crucially, the people that are recorded in the most detail are those who will serve in the temple, because that's what's important. Priests, Levites, singers, gatekeepers, temple servants, people who would make the religious services happen, people who would do the sacrifices and run the temple, because the people of Israel aren't returning for themselves. They're not returning to get some sort of financial benefit or get their foot in the door of the property ladder back then. They're returning to worship God. They're returning for the Lord and to glorify Him. And so they're counting up the means and the resources, surveying what they have to do this. And the people that they need are the priests and the Levites. And if you go back through Ezra, you'll realize that it was important for them to count up all these people, because they realized partway through they don't have enough Levites, and they have to go and headhunt Levites to come and work in the temple. But they're trying to account for everything they need. So it's a detailed list. It's a list of means and resources to do the work of God. Finally, it's a list of unfulfilled promises. A list of unfulfilled promises. Here's something new. So if you were here in Ezra chapter 2, here's something new that I didn't know then, but I have learned in the last week. In verse 57, you have a list of the sons of Solomon's servants. And these families listed, maybe you've picked this up, and if you have, very clever. They don't have Hebrew names. The sons of Solomon's servants are probably not Israelites. They're likely foreigners. We know that Solomon sort of rounds up all the Canaanites living in the land and compels them to hard labour. Back in Joshua, when there's the tricky tribe with the mouldy bread, and they come, we're from far away, don't kill us, but they're actually from close by, the Gibeonites, they're forced to work and cut wood and get water for the temple. And it's thought, and what's most likely, is that these sons of Solomon's servants are the children of those Canaanites, the children of those non-Israelites who were left in the land and who were forced to serve. But by the time you come to Ezra and Nehemiah, these foreigners seem to have been fully integrated into God's people. In fact, more than that, these people are volunteering to return, volunteering to leave, pack up all their stuff, pack up all their families, and come back to serve in the temple. And it's a wonderful picture, I think, of what God's holy people should be. These foreigners can be fully integrated. It's not one sort of single ethnic group that we have represented here, but people from a range of tribes and tongues and nations coming together to worship the one true God. All kinds of people volunteering to come and serve in the holy city, serving in the holy temple to worship the one true holy God. It's a great promise, but it is desperately and disappointingly unfulfilled. After hearing about these sons of Solomon's servants, these foreigners who had elected to come back and serve, verse 61, we get a list of people who had also volunteered to come back but couldn't prove their lineage. Here are people who wanted to serve. They thought they could be priests and Levites and that kind of thing, but they can't show that they're sons of Aaron. And so they have to be excluded. And they will remain excluded until the Urim and Thummim can be found, which was a way of seeking God's guidance on issues that didn't have a law in the Bible. And likely there were two stones and you'd pull one out and sort of true or false sort of thing. And it was likely that they were lost or destroyed when the temple was destroyed, when Nebuchadnezzar came. But it's pretty deflating sort of record. Not everybody who wants to be part of what's happening, not everybody who's packed their bags and come back to serve can be. Some are left out, some are excluded, some are considered unclean and have to wait and hope for a time when they can be declared clean, worthy, able to serve in the temple. And it's a sign that Ezra and Nehemiah actually won't solve all the problems. Ezra and Nehemiah actually can't do everything. As wonderful a duo as they are as leaders, they can't do everything that needs to be done. And it's another of the many reminders sprinkled throughout this whole book that the hope that this book contains is not fulfilled in this book, but it's pointing us forward. This is one of those. As we look back on this list, we see something inspirational. Here are people giving up everything to go and rebuild the temple. But we know that the hope of a holy city and the hope of a holy temple and a holy people is going to remain unfulfilled. The promise of a people from every nation coming to serve, coming to worship, coming to the holy city won't be met here. In Nehemiah's time, the book is written to make us look forward to Jesus, the fulfillment of the promises. Ephesians is written to Gentiles. It's a book that's largely Gentiles. There were Jews in there, but people of the nations, the unclean, who would have been unwelcome in God's temple, who would have not been able to serve, unable to serve, aliens behind the dividing wall. And in chapter 2, verse 19, Paul says to them, "So then you are no longer strangers and aliens, but you are fellow citizens with the saints and members of the household of God." And then at the end of the sentence in verse 22, "In him you also are being built together into a dwelling place for God by his Spirit." You see, what Nehemiah and what this list promises, Jesus fulfills and extends. No longer are people left far off and excluded. No longer are people unclean and those historically who are unwelcome. Now they can become part of God's family. That people from every nation can be included in the holy people. But more than that, they can't just come into the temple. They become the temple, the place where God dwells. In Jesus, we, people from every tribe and every tongue and every nation, become God's holy people, to live in God's holy city, to be dwelt in by God himself as his holy temple. So completely has Jesus done it, removed our sin, removed our uncleanness, removed all of those things that God would dwell in amongst us, in us, live within us, and build us into a dwelling place. And so in this chapter, in this dry list of names, we have this wonderful promise of what we have in Jesus. A people from every tribe and every tongue and every nation able to come and serve and worship the holy God as holy people, because Jesus makes us holy. And so that's kind of what this chapter is. It's a list of the genealogy of those people who first came back. It has all these rich promises in it that we enjoy the fulfillment of. But there's another question we need to ask. Why is this here? Why is this here? It's long. To read it, it's pretty uninspiring and pretty difficult. And you would have thought that of all the passages that the Bible could repeat almost word for word twice, this would be fairly low down the list. Like if it repeated David and Goliath or the parting of the Red Sea twice, you'd be like, that makes sense because those are cool. Repeating this one twice is confusing. Why is it here? On top of that, I suspect it's actually only part of the information that Nehemiah needs for his project. We know from Ezra that there's a second wave of Israelites that come back and return with Ezra in Ezra chapter 8. They're smaller in number, but they are Israelites, they are people. And so if Nehemiah was trying to make a complete list of all those Israelites who had returned, he would need more than the information in this one chapter. He would need the additional records of the others who had been coming back in dribs and drabs. And so that means that this list recorded here is not simply for administrative purposes. There must be another reason that Nehemiah is so struck by this record. And I wonder if this list is here not for administration, but for inspiration. All through this series, I've been telling you about church history as well as Nehemiah. John Huss, Charles Spurgeon, Athanasius, telling you stories, being reminded of those who have come before, those who God has used for the sake of his church. And I think a lot of those stories are really stirring, really inspiring. They call us to step forward, to be something more than we are today. It's inspiring because it reminds us of this rich heritage our faith has. We stand at the end of a long line of exceptionally faithful people who showed that faith in the way they lived day to day, who were used in exceptional ways by our God. And these memories speak to us of what we could be, how God might use us as we trust him. The faith that drove those from the past, the God they trusted in, who worked such great things, that's our faith. That's our God as we meet today. And I think Nehemiah is doing something similar here in chapter 7. How does this help the people rebuild and repopulate Jerusalem? Well, it reminds them who they are. They stand at the end of a long list of people who've made sacrifices in faith to serve the living God. They are part of this great legacy of people who have trusted in him. Here's the list of pioneers, the first people to catch the vision of a rebuilt Jerusalem and a rebuilt temple, the first people to step forward. Perhaps their parents or grandparents or even great-grandparents of those who are building the wall and living in the area at the time. But they leave this legacy for the new generation to step into, to step forward into, a heritage of faith for those who came after. I think what we have here is something relatively similar to what we see in the New Testament. In the book of Hebrews. Hebrews 11 is known as the Hall of Faith, the record of men and women of faith, the spiritual ancestors, if you were, of the faithful and their legacy of trusting in the Lord. And so it goes through all kinds of people, Abraham and Moses and all these people. Interestingly, in verse 10, there's this detail about the faith of Abraham, which perhaps incidental, but nonetheless, I think, relevant. So Hebrews 11, verse 10, it says of Abraham, he was looking forward to the city that has foundations, whose designer and builder is God. There's this fascinating connection that he's looking forward to, sure, a land and other things, children, but also a city. Fascinating connection between Abraham's faith, Nehemiah's faith and what he's doing, and us. Because the faith we're called to, the thing we're looking forward to, is a holy city coming down from heaven and resting upon the earth. That's how Revelation ends. We're anticipating, we're hoping, and we're trusting God to bring a city, to build a city that we can be part of. And so there's this list in Hebrews 11 of all those who stepped out in faith. And after recounting Some of these men and women of faith and the things they did because they trusted God. The next chapter, chapter 12, begins, verse 1 and 2. Therefore, since we are surrounded by so great a cloud of witnesses, let us also lay aside every weight and sin which clings so closely. And let us run with endurance the race set before us, looking to Jesus, the founder and perfecter of our faith. Whose legacy do you carry? What has been passed down to you from those who went before? Now, I'm aware that not all of us have nonconformist church planter ancestors that we can Google on some family tree website. But all of us here have a much richer heritage than simply a Cutforth last name. As people of faith, we have a gospel heritage. We stand at the end of a long line of people who trusted in their God, who looked forward to a city that is to come, and who God used in great ways. More than that, we have the heritage of the finished work of Jesus, the washing of his blood, the gift of his Holy Spirit, the fulfillment of God's promises, the message of the gospel, the thing which we trust in, salvation which has been passed down generation after generation until it has come to us, the message that can save us from death. We stand at the end of a long line of faithful men and women who have carried that message, that legacy down through the ages, who have proclaimed it fearlessly and have seen those seeds grow and bear fruit. People who have preached the gospel and built churches and have stood on their conviction. They're our spiritual ancestors. They speak to us of what God can do. And now it's our turn. Our turn to carry this gospel heritage forward into the future. What will we leave for those who come after us? When the future generations of faithful Christians find a box of the records of the decisions we made and the things that we did and dust it off and read about who we were, what will they say? What will they think? Will it inspire them? Will it encourage them? Will it challenge them to continue the work of the gospel? Will it call them to look forward to the city whose designer and builder is God? Let's pray. Our gracious God, we praise you for all that you have done in the history of our world, that you have continuously worked out your plan for salvation. You've continually called people to serve you faithfully. You've continually raised up people to step out in faith, to serve you whatever the cost may be. We thank you for the many great, inspiring examples of faith that we have for us, this great cloud of witnesses. And so I pray that we would run our race with endurance, that we'd cast aside the sin that so easily entangles, and we'd look to Jesus, the founder and perfecter, the beginning and the end, the one who gave us salvation and the one who will complete it when he comes again. Help us to be those who faithfully and sacrificially serve you